All right, this is going to be a video discussing our pay application process and, more importantly, the lien waiver process. We have so many subcontractors that don't understand what the lien waivers are for and why they're even signing them. So hopefully this will provide a little bit of clarity so that we can get it done correctly the first time. We're going to look through our pay application instruction package that we send out to subcontractors, along with some real-world examples. So we send out pay application instructions package. This has recently been revamped into a PDF, a single PDF form that has fillable cells that you're able to go in and fill it out. Previously, and on a couple of our existing projects, this is actually a Word document that you can go in and modify. I encourage you to read this. Please do not just glance over it. Don't actually read it. So the important things to note here are the items that are included in this package. It also gives you your instructions on where you should be sending your pay application, when it is due every month, and what happens if you don't turn it in on time. All of our pay applications at the moment go to ap@boldconstructllc.com. I even tell you what the subject line should be in the email that you're sending. We don't do this just because we want to. We do this because it makes it so much easier to actually search when we get literally hundreds of pay apps in sometimes, and people making revisions. It's hundreds, including revisions and rejections and having to rework it. So please read this. The first page that you have here is for a subcontractor supplier and sub list. Okay, so if you have second or third tier subcontractors that you're hiring to work on our projects, please fill this out. If you have vendors, your concrete supplier, your lumber supplier, your equipment supplier, whoever you're getting your materials from, they should be listed on this form. The reason that we do this is because if you don't pay your bill, we want to be sure that they get paid. All right. Secondly is going to be our tracking report. So from this first list, you'll notice that there's a pattern here with these items. From the first list is where you just list the companies. Your second list is going to be, you're going to list the suppliers and what you bought from them out of this draw. So if your draw was $100,000 for this particular month and you purchased $75,000 from 3 different suppliers, they need to be listed here. Additionally, if you have paid them from a previous month, they need to be listed in column C, which is paid to supplier. Then we're going to look and make sure you have a lien waiver for these items. Column B is the money that's to be paid, which means it's conditional. To be paid equals conditional. To be paid equals conditional. You'll hear that it's a theme throughout this entire video. Already paid is unconditional, which means you unconditionally waive your lien rights when you have been paid. When you've actually got the money in the account, that's when you do an unconditional waiver. Our first lien waiver gets a conditional waiver release on progress payment. All right. Some of you like to fill out the final payment. At the end of this, you'll see a waiver for final payment. You only do that for your very, very final payment, which is typically retainage. So you'll fill in your project location. This is the dollar amount that whatever your pay application is for that month. So if you're billing for $25,000, the net amount minus retainage, that means the money that you're actually going to get, goes in this column or goes in this cell. Payable to, that's your company name. I've already got the project name and project address listed. It's going to be through whatever the last day of the month is that you're billing. So if this is October and your billing is due by October 20th, this should say October 31st because that is the last day of the month. You will date it. Again, put the company name, whoever is signing it, an actual wet signature, and then the title of the person that signed it. You'll print this out, and it will need to go to a notary. It does have to be notarized and scanned in and sent back in with your pay application. So these are for progress payments. So let's go to the next month. The next month, you submit another pay application. It's going to have everything we've discussed. It's going to have the pay app. It's going to have your schedule of values. It'll have your subcontractor or vendor forms. It should also have, if you've been paid, an unconditional waiver for the previous month. Same exact thing as the conditional waiver, except you have been paid. So this money, the amount this money is in your checking account, and you've been paid it. So now you can unconditionally waive your lien rights because you have actually been paid the money for that portion of the contract. Okay, these are very important forms. All right. If you fill out an unconditional waiver on progress payment and you send it in with your normal pay application and we choose not to pay you for whatever reason, we would never do that. But more importantly, if it's another general contractor that chooses you not to pay it, yeah, you can take them to court and everything, but you have waived your lien rights. If you turn in a waiver that says it's unconditional, you have waived it. You have said, nope, we've been paid and we've waived it. And yet you don't even have the money yet. That's why it's very important for you to actually understand how this process works. Upon final payment, again, those two previous lien waivers for progress payment are going to be used 95% of the time for your payments. The only time you should do a conditional waiver is when you're on final payment, is when you are submitting for your retainage. Okay, because typically that's your final payment. Occasionally, there might be a situation where you've already submitted for a change order after the fact, and then in that case, you would again use final payment because it would be assumed that that change order would be your final payment. Very rare, but it does happen. So the final payment waivers, again, are for retainage payments. The unconditional waiver and release on final payment is once you have been completely paid, you are paid 100%, all retainage, all change orders, everything's been paid. You are 100% paid up, whatever that last final payment was, that's what you're going to fill out here. All right. You'll notice that the unconditional does not have a dollar amount on it. So that means that you have been paid, period. Whatever your contract amount was, it's done. It's over. Okay. We are all settled up. So I encourage you, do not fill this out until the very, very end. Or else, like I said, you waive your lien rights. The very last two pages go along with the page 2 and page 3 for your subcontractor, second tier and third tier. So if you're a concrete sub and you sub out your labor for the finishing crew to a company, they need to be on the tracking report. And then you're going to have them fill out a conditional waiver and an unconditional waiver once they're pending payment. Again, conditional waiver, pending payment, unconditional waiver is once you've been paid. But they're going to need to fill this out. And you can fill it out for them because the difference is going to be the check is now not going to come from Bold Commercial Construction. It's going to come from you, the subcontractor, payable to whoever your sub is or your vendor. All right? Again, the rest of it stays the same. Date, name has to be notarized. And like I said, there's an unconditional as well for suppliers and vendors. Please, please, please pay attention to what you are filling out. Don't just arbitrarily fill the paperwork out and send it in. Now, let's look at some examples. We're going to look at some real world examples. So the first one here, we have a progress payment from a subcontractor. We have a schedule of values. We have a subcontractor list. We have a tracking form. That's very good. Now, what I'm going to be looking for is a conditional waiver for this amount, $48,150. I go to the end, $48,150, but it's an unconditional waiver, which means they've been paid. They're saying that they waive their lien rights in the event that they've been paid. I'm going to go ahead and accept this because it doesn't really matter to me if it's a conditional or an unconditional. It matters to you because they have now waived their lien rights. Understood? Next, the subcontractor supplier list. We have 2. We go to the tracking report. So there's 3 waivers. I can look at this right here, and I should be looking for 3 waivers. Total to date from the draw. So whatever they've been paid, whatever they're expected to be paid out of this draw, okay, is this amount and this amount to these 2 different suppliers. I do not see a conditional waiver from a supplier or vendor. They should have filled out this conditional waiver and release for suppliers and vendors for those two payments. Now for the third payment, that's actually already been paid to sub and supplier. So they've actually already been paid that. All right, so actually this is incorrect. This should be 0 right here because they're not coming from this draw. Okay, total to date from the draw. That's this draw right here. This should have been done on a previous application. So we need an unconditional waiver right here. Paid to supplier and sub. We need to fill this form out, which is the very last one in the packet. Unconditional waiver and release for supplier and vendors. That's what should have been filled out. So we're missing a conditional on this draw. We're also missing an unconditional for what they've already been paid because there's no unconditional attached to this. Last month, they were paid for the September draw, and there's no unconditional waiver. So I'm going to go ahead and process this, but we will not release payment until we receive the unconditional waiver. That's why it's so much easier for you to go ahead and send it in for whatever you've been paid for the previous month. Let's take a look at another one. I have not looked at this one. Let's rotate our pages. So this is a pay application for $9,000. Current payment due is $9,000. So I know automatically I'm already looking for a pay app for $9,000. We'll go through and separately review the schedule of values. Conditional waiver and release, $9,000. We got it right. Excellent. That's perfect. We've got subs and subcontractors listed. And then we've got amounts that they've been paid. They say that they have paid them. So now we need unconditional waivers from each one of these subs. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and process this, but I'm going to send them an email and say, I need unconditional waivers for these 3 subcontractors right here. I need not only unconditional waivers, or not just unconditional waivers, unconditional waiver and release for suppliers and vendors. Very important distinction. Okay. Let's look at another one. This is a unconditional waiver. So let's see what the second attachment is. All right, it's a pay application with a conditional waiver. All right, so first of all, we're going to look. Current payment due, $47,965.55. So I'm looking for a conditional waiver for that amount. Conditional waiver and release of progress payment, $47,965.55. Everything is 100% correct. It is dated till the end of the month. It has the current date on it. It is signed and it is notarized. This is exactly what we're looking for. And also in the other attachment was the conditional on, an unconditional for progress payment. So this is what they were paid last month. And they have been paid it. So they have waived their lien rights because they've been paid and they've submitted the form. So there's no waiting for payment on this one. I can process it as soon as we get paid. We'll send out the ACH and they'll have it in 48 hours. Okay. So that's 3 examples on lien waivers. That's thoroughly explaining our pay application package. So if you have any questions, please ask your project manager. If we need to have a webinar or something with everybody involved, we certainly will. But this is very simple once you understand the concept of what you're doing. Don't just fill out the paperwork just to fill it out and pacify. Okay? It's actually to protect you as the subcontractor and for you to preserve your lien rights in the event that, not that I don't get paid, and not that I don't pay you, but maybe we don't get paid by an owner on a project. You don't want to waive those lien rights, just like I don't want to waive mine. If anyone has any questions, certainly feel free to reach out. Thanks.